WrestleMania 40 was just this weekend in Philadelphia. Got us feeling mighty nostalgic. So we thought we would do our top 5 WrestleMania moments this time on Falls Count Anywhere.
All right, folks, we're back for a new episode of Falls Count Anywhere. We just had WrestleMania 40 this weekend, WrestleMania XL, extra large. Feeling mighty old right now, but it is what it is.
Just a tidbit, considering I'm old enough to remember most of these.
Yeah. But finish out WrestleMania week, we figure keep the theme going. We're going to do our top 5 favorite, most memorable WrestleMania moments. Or matches. Could be matches if you want. Whatever. We're going for moments.
It is pretty bold because we are recording this before WrestleMania weekend. So we are presuming that we aren't going to have a top 5 WrestleMania moment this weekend.
Well, if we have to do an edition, we will.
I guess we could always record an edition afterwards. All right.
So tell us, what's your first moment, your top 5? I mean, this is 40 years of WrestleMania. Obviously... Well, shit, the first WrestleMania was just a few months before I was born. A lot of moments, a lot of matches, lots of memories, a lot of shit, too, let's be honest.
A lifetime.
This should be pretty deep. I mean, you see these videos all the time. Generally, you see the same stuff over and over again. I was trying to think of some different stuff than what you would normally see, but I mean, there's one or two on here that I think everybody can pretty much agree on. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much crossover there is between us. My number 5 moment came at WrestleMania 32, Shane McMahon versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell.
The fall off the top.
There was a great storyline behind this. Shane trying to get his way back into the family, into the business, trying to earn his way back in. Undertaker standing in his way. He's laying there on the announcer table looking up, and he literally does, I think they call it the fall from grace. He, off the top of Hell in a Cell.
An extra tall cell.
Putting his body on the line.
It might have been the first year they did the extra tall cell.
For his business. For his family. Undertaker moves out of the way. He goes through the announcer table, probably one of the biggest, falls at least, certainly in WrestleMania history. And there was great story behind it. It was a great moment. 2 iconic people in the business. Obviously, Shane-O, even up to that point, had built a bit of a reputation for high-risk type maneuvers. So there was no question whether he was going to go off the top or not. And there was very little question whether Undertaker was going to get out of the way or not. I think we all knew he was going to get out of the way, but it hit really great. And I believe even the next day on Raw, he was getting massive amounts of love. I mean, he really won over the crowd, even though at the time he was Vince McMahon's son. Everybody hates Vince McMahon, blah, 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 blah. So that was number 5 for me. WrestleMania 32, Shane O'Mac's fall from grace.
All right. Just had to put these in a quick order. I realized I didn't do that before. My number 5, near and dear to my heart, although the ending of it, not so great, but the appearance, the first match of Sting.
Oh, that was the same year.
WrestleMania 31.
Oh, it was 30. It was the year before. Okay, yeah.
It was in San Francisco outside. Seeing Sting in a WWE ring, his first match, that was awesome. That was my childhood. Again.
Who did he wrestle?
Triple H.
Right, Triple H. Yeah.
The way the match went and the way the match ended, not so hot. But that first appearance of him coming out at WrestleMania, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we had to wait until he was in his mid-50s before we saw that happen.
Early 50s, yeah.
But so I mean, we called this matches, but really you're talking about the moment.
The moment, yeah.
Him coming out, because the match itself wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But seeing him
seeing him on the stage at WrestleMania in front of 80,000, whatever it was.
Yeah, and he got over. I mean, as you would expect.
Absolutely.
The crowd really helped on that one. Yeah, that's a pretty good moment. All right, I'm digging into the trenches here on this one. I'm a huge Macho Man Randy Savage fan. My 4th moment came at WrestleMania 7.
Oh, okay.
And this is more of a moment, but this was the reunification of Miss Elizabeth.
Yep.
And Randy Savage. This was really the first time.
You do have a heart.
This was really the first time that soap opera-y, dramatic love got put on the screen. I believe, if I remember right, the setup was Macho Man was in a career versus career match, which he lost. Miss Elizabeth was afraid that
Sherry Martel was his manager. He
That's
was a
right.
heel.
And she was afraid that she was going to go down too, so she turns on him, and then triumphantly at WrestleMania she comes back. Elizabeth saves him. They get reunited in the ring. And it was kind of one of those, we always talk about like crossover, because they were actually going through a very tumultuous love affair at the time, the two of them. And it was one of those kind of, it was the first time that there was kind of a crossover. 10 years later, you saw a lot of that with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and that whole thing. But at the time, brand new, WrestleMania 7, so what is that, 1990? 1991 that happens. Yeah, so for me, that was my fourth greatest WrestleMania moment.
That's a good one. If we were talking matches, definitely one of them would have to be Macho versus Steamboat. Was that WrestleMania 3?
WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Pontiac.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. My number 4, I distinctly remember this, watching this at the folks' place. They are setting up for a ladder match. New Day are the hosts, and it was like a 3-way ladder match, and they come out and say, we're going to add another team this match. And right away, I knew, ladder match. Who are the masters of the ladders? The Hardys return at WrestleMania 33.
Yeah.
That moment, I mean, I remember freaking out, and your folks were kind of looked at me a little strange. I didn't know them that well at that point.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. Seeing them come back, it was right after Matt Hardy had done the whole broken gimmick in TNA. He was one of the most popular things in wrestling at that point.
He was kind of untouchable too.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted, after the whole match with Sting at Bound for Glory and stuff. I mean, that was
Matt Hardy, not Jeff Hardy.
I'm sorry, yes, Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
But Jeff Hardy's who I'm talking about.
Right.
Jeff Hardy was still untouchable at that point, dealing with his drug problems and stuff. He kind of is a little untouchable now, even. But he was dealing with all his problems, so I don't think anybody really thought that it was going to be possible that he was going to come back. And
that just the night before that, they had an insane ladder match with the Young Bucks in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that was a very, and that was a good match too. I mean, that itself was a very good match.
Yeah, Hardy's return, that's my number 4. It was awesome moment.
Are we going to see another Hardy return to WWE? That's a stretch, I think.
They'll come back for the Hall of Fame. I don't know if they'll do another run.
No, maybe like a Royal Rumble appearance or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Just to tip their hats or whatever.
WrestleMania 40?
No, they're still under contract.
They're both under contract, I'm pretty sure. All right, my third is WrestleMania 18, Hollywood Hogan versus The Rock.
That was on my honorable mentions.
It really is just exemplary storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, just
And
really
calling
great.
it on the fly.
Yeah, two veterans. You can see it's almost like a passing of the torch. Hogan on the way, sort of. He's crested. He's on the other side of his career now. It's 2002. He's crested. He's just over the other side. That's right, because it was after the buyout for WCW. He's crested. He's over the mountain. The Rock still kind of climbing the mountain, but really coming into his prime.
He would be gone within a year or two after that.
Coming out of the Attitude Era, so really just riding a rocket ship. It was before the Randy Ortons really hit the scene, the John Cenas. The Batistas, I think, had maybe been there for a year or so. I mean, it really was a special time. You can see The Rock kind of carry him through the match a little bit, but the storytelling in the match, it really was old world versus new world meeting each other.
Right.
And I really thought it told a brilliant story. It really.
And calling it on the fly, Hogan went into that match the heel. Rock was the face.
Yeah.
They heard the crowd reaction, and mid-second they did a double turn. And Hogan was the babyface by the end of the match.
I mean, if I was Al Snow, I'd be showing that to
Right.
every single one of my pupils. Like, this is how you separate the great wrestlers from the Mount Rushmore type wrestlers. I mean, that's really how you do it. Your ability to do that on the fly, WrestleMania, in front of that crowd. No more higher pressure situation. I mean, it was just two real artists in their prime with each other working. It was exemplary.
Ring generals. Yep.
Yep.
That was your number 3?
That was
My
3.
number 3, WrestleMania 30. Never thought it would happen. 21-1. The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania ends.
You're listing that as a good thing?
It was a top moment.
The ending of the streak?
It was a top moment because it was not expected. No one thought that streak would ever end.
Do you support, and I'm sure you've heard Paul Heyman's commentary on it, do you side with him on that? Do you think that he was right, saying who else could possibly do it and all that stuff?
No. I don't think Lesnar, at least at that time, Lesnar was not the one to do it. And Undertaker has since come out and said if he would have preferred, well, I don't know. There's been a lot of back and forth because at one point he said it was said that he chose Lesnar to do it. Now he's saying Bray Wyatt should have been the one to do it to end the streak. So I don't know, but I wasn't a fan of it. I would have been fine if he retired undefeated at WrestleMania. I think that would have been a cool way to go out.
There is a kind of a respect, right? I think Paul Heyman said, you give back to the business.
Yeah. If it was going to be truly his last match, that would have been something different.
But that is not, in my opinion, that's not the guy that you give it. That's not a guy that needs it.
No.
At that point, he'd already been in the business for like a decade.
Right. Roman Reigns needed it.
A guy like Roman Reigns, somebody
by the time Reigns beat him, it was already 2 years after it was already done.
I just can't shake the feeling that Brock was just Vince's favorite, and that's why it happened that way. That it was just something Vince forced down our throats.
But yeah, it's not a moment I was crazy about, but it is a top moment because it was so, like, what the fuck just happened? You know?
All right, my number 2 moment, WrestleMania 26. Undertaker retires Shawn Michaels. This match had so much drama to it. I mean, I can remember sitting in my buddy's college dorm room and just freaking out every time there was a big spot, screaming at the television. I remember looking over at one point and my buddy had literally gone insane. He had like picked up a piece of clothing from the floor, which turned out to be a pair of sweatpants, and he had tied it around his head and was yarning on it in stress because he wanted Undertaker to win so bad. He did not want the streak to be broken. There was so much drama behind it, so much back and forth. For some reason, they got away with high spot after high spot after high spot, kick out after kick out after kick out. They really pulled me into that kayfabe, the Undertaker entrance, the Shawn Michael entrance. I mean, it was just...
That was him in the white outfit coming down and Undertaker in the black going up.
It was just so perfect. It was so unbelievably perfect. So much drama. They're like apologizing to each other in the middle of the match. Just such incredible mutual respect for each other. The streak versus the career. The streak wins out. All is right with the world. To me, wonderful WrestleMania moment. Almost the best.
Yep. Number 2, another WrestleMania 30. The end, the culmination of the Yes Movement. Daniel Bryan wins the titles.
Oh, man.
You know me. I've always been an indie fan. Daniel Bryan was the wrestling wrestler. You know?
I know, but didn't that lead to the Daniel Bryan environmentalist gimmick?
No, that was several years later.
Was that
that was after he came back from retirement.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, he had been
way
all right. Give him a pass on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
beating out Randy Orton, beating out Batista, beating out the Authority to win the titles. I mean, that was an awesome moment, especially for a wrestling fan.
You do like seeing it. It becomes a trope if you do it too much, but you do like seeing the good guys win out.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, everybody had a really bad taste in their mouth when Roman Reigns went over WrestleMania 39.
Yeah. Everyone wanted him to win the Rumble, and he didn't. The fans were revolting. That's what led to the whole Yes Movement, and then seeing him actually win the titles at WrestleMania. That was great.
Yeah, it felt more like...
Again, the follow-up probably not as good as it could have been. But.
There's a few times in the history of the business where you really kind of feel like the fan base directs the content. And that was one where I couldn't help but get the feeling that Vince McMahon didn't want this to happen.
No,
but the fans were making him make it happen. And you can do that. That's one of the amazing things. You know, there's a lot of different industries that are going through struggles right now, whether it be movies, whether it be gaming, and there's just this overwhelming sense of you aren't listening to your fan base. But in wrestling, you can force the hand of God as it were, right? Little G, God, you can force the hand.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Before you get to your number one, any honorable mentions?
I mean, I have like a gajillion honorable mentions. I'm not even gonna try and list them, but I do want to hear yours.
You already mentioned Rock and Hogan.
Yep.
But the other one we haven't mentioned yet, unless it's your number one, Hogan slamming Giant at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, I thought that was... I didn't appreciate it myself, but I could understand why that was such an overwhelming moment for everybody. And I lived about a mile away from the Pontiac Silverdome, so I ran past it before they knocked it down a lot. I'd been past it a gajillion times, and I can tell you that, like, I can understand, like, having whatever it was, 85 or 90,000 people inside that stadium. I can imagine what that must have felt like, being in the ring and doing that. And again, they had done such a good job of making Andre like the unbeatable, and to not only beat him, but to pick him up and slam him, all 500 and whatever pounds he was. I mean, it was, it's kind of the original WrestleMania moment, because 1 and 2
it is, absolutely.
were kind of throwaways.
100%.
All right, well, I am going to take you... Thank you for stealing my thunder a little bit here. I'm going to take you to WrestleMania 3 once again at the Pontiac Silverdome. You can't mention this match. Actually, I think up until my second moment at WrestleMania 26, so for 23 years straight, this was voted the best match in professional wrestling history.
Oops.
This would be Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. You know, anybody that knows the legends about this match knows that for months they were working out move for move, spot for spot, moment for moment.
In a time when 99% of the wrestlers would just call it in the ring.
And Macho Man did not want to do that, and Steamboat really kind of leaned into it. It was the culmination of excellent storytelling, because they were able to work it. They knew that's what the match was going to be, and they both went into it wanting to steal the show, and they won over that crowd. If you have not watched that match, it really is, to steal a term, the excellence of execution. And again, two guys in the prime, caring about the product, caring about the crowd, caring about the business, and just really laying it out. And again, I think to this day that they were on the same card as Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant, and they did steal the show. And they stole every WrestleMania for the next 23 years after that point. And for that reason, that is my number one moment, my number one match.
All right. Well, all I got to say is, for my number one, I'm sorry, I love you. Super kick.
Shut up.
Shawn Michaels retires Ric Flair, WrestleMania 24.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of drama in that match, too.
Yes.
I don't know. Was it that moment? Was it him on the verge of tears saying, I'm sorry?
Absolutely. I mean...
What was it, though? Him destroying his hero?
Yes. And
having to destroy his hero?
And, I mean, no matter how you feel about Ric Flair nowadays, whether you want to see him in a ring or not, Dan, he is the best of all time. And seeing him go out like that was just... It couldn't have been better.
Is there any other way that it could have happened?
No.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
He had to get his shit kicked in by...
It had to be clean. It had to be...
I'm kind of glad it wasn't a younger guy, too, because that was 25?
24.
24.
That was
so that
2008.
And that late, wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it wasn't... Again, Michaels, was over the hill at that point, but it wasn't like seeing John Cena or somebody that was really in the prime. That wouldn't have made a lot of sense. Yeah, really, you can really tell looking at that list that we're not casual fans.
None of our picks crossed each other. That's
very
rare.
little crossover. Yeah, which is 40 years. I would hope that we'd be able to find a dozen or so moments.
It's true, but like I said in the beginning, all these other videos you watch, you see the same 5-6 moments over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I'd love to find a list that has the Miss Elizabeth moment, or Ric Flair getting retired. I would like to see. Probably not going to be on there, but I don't know. Let us know what you think down below. We want to know what your favorite WrestleMania moments are. I especially want to know if one of your WrestleMania moments is from WrestleMania 40. So please let us know down below. And of course, check us out every Friday on our home show, Wrestling with the Business, with me, Matt, and Dan. And please keep watching, and we will keep wrestling with the business.